So now we get started. We're going to talk today about the first Jewish road trip. Okay? So the first Jewish road trip happens when God comes to Abraham. Now let's just get a little bit of a background over here. Abraham discovered God not by God speaking to him, right? When you talk about most of the stories of the beginnings of religions, they talk about how they got these messages from, God came to Muhammad, or the angel came to Muhammad, or he came to Saul, or Paul, or Joseph Smith, or Sun Myung Moon, which is from the starting of the Moonies. Most of these religions in the world start when God appears to someone. That's not how Judaism's story starts. Judaism's story starts by a man named Abraham, who looks around and of his own intellect is able to discern that there's only one God, right? He sees people worshiping the God of the rivers, but then the rivers pull out in the oceans. They worship the oceans, but then the ocean gets evaporated, turns into the clouds. They worship the clouds get stopped by the mountain. You worship the mountain, and so on and so forth. And he realizes there's got to be this one unifying force, this one God. Instead of serving the God of the ocean and the clouds and the mountains and the sun and the moon and all that, we should be serving the one God who created them all. This is, at that time, a relatively revolutionary idea, the idea of monotheism. But what's really revolutionary about Abraham, right, this time is not Abraham, it's Avram, not Avraham. Avram starts teaching this in public in mass amounts. He starts teaching it, he and his wife start teaching it to the masses. Avram and his wife, at this time her name is Sarai, okay? So they start teaching this to the masses. And they're doing this for decades, by the way. They're doing it for decades. They're going around teaching monotheism for decades and decades, and they've got an entire following. They've got a huge yeshiva. Okay, I just came back. We had a trip this past week to Lakewood, New Jersey. I'm sure some of you have heard of this. Lakewood is like one of the citadels of Torah in America, the largest citadel of Torah in America. And we went to the one yeshiva there, the BMG, Beis Medrash Gavoa, has over 6,500 students. Imagine we got a bunch of dads from Detroit who, many of them had literally never been in yeshiva before in their entire lives. And we just go from study hall to study hall. This one's got 700 people in it. And then across the hall, there's another one. There's the west one, and the east one, and Mizrach and Ma'ariv. This one's got 700 people studying. This one's got 800 people studying. And they go upstairs, another 1,100 people studying. And then we go to another building, and 900 people studying in this one. And then you go to the next building, 1,100 people studying in this one, and 1,000. It's incredible. And we sat down and we sat in the thick of things, and we studied Torah with young men who were studying in Lakewood in the Beis Medrash Gavoa, and it blew our people away. One of the guys came over to me on the trip and said to me, he said, Rabbi, I really didn't want to go on this trip. I looked at the itinerary and all this sitting and studying, and I was like, this looks horrible. He said, but I'm so glad that I came. We had such an amazing time. And it was remarkable because our people, the dads that came from Detroit, were blown away by the incredible people of Lakewood who just opened up their hearts and their homes. We stayed in homes overnight, and there were many different homes where we had classes or a final banquet, and they just opened up their homes with open arms and open hearts, and our people were so impressed. And thank God the people of Lakewood were so impressed by our dads. Most of the people who came on this trip were people who did not grow up with any Judaism, any Yiddishkeit, and were embracing it more and more and bringing it into their lives in a very impressive way. So it was an incredible trip, but the point is, there was a little bit of a detour. What I meant to say is that Avram started sort of the first, he had a yeshiva going. HaNefesh Asher Asu B'charan. The people that they made, they were making people. Avram and Sarai were making people. They had hundreds and hundreds of followers, and they were all serving monotheism based on the preachings and the teachings of Avram. And then God comes to Avram. So again, this is decades into Avram's dedication to and service of the monotheistic God that he's never met, never spoken to. And this is the first conversation God has with Abraham. Vayomer Hashem al Abraham, Lech lecha me'aretzecha u'mimoladetecha u'beis havicha al ha'aretz asher areka. Source number 1. And the Lord said to Avram, go forth from your land, from your birthplace, from your father's house, to the land that I will show you. And there I will bless you, I will make you great, I will make you, you'll be full of blessing over there. Okay. Now there's just something fascinating here that we have to notice, is that if God didn't tell Avram where to go. He didn't tell him go to the land of Israel, he didn't tell him go to the Holy Land, to the Blessed Land. He said, El ha'aretz asher areka, to the land that I will show you. God never told Avram where he's going. It's like you can't even go to the airport and say, can I get a ticket too? And they're like, yeah. He's like, can I get a ticket too? I don't really know. Okay, so where am I going now? I don't know. Right? I just listened to a podcast about a guy who he was dating this girl, and she said she didn't want to continue dating him anymore because he was too inflexible. So he wanted to prove to her how flexible he was. So he made a sign that said anywhere, and he went hitchhiking around the world. It's crazy where he went to. In France and Ukraine and Spain and all the way through the Trans-Siberian Railroad to Siberia, to China, all over the world, going around with a sign that said anywhere, right? So Hashem tells Avram, go, lech lecha, go. Where are you going? I don't know. I'm supposed to go to the airport. Where am I going? Where am I heading? So how do you tell someone to go on a journey if you don't tell him where he's going? Okay. And by the way, to echo the sentiments, I happen to have the very distinct pleasure of having my wife in the crowd today. And I remember when we first got married, she would say, let's just get in the car and drive. And I'd be like, but where? She's like, no, let's just drive. It's not about where we're going, it's about the process. So let's see exactly what's going on over here. Let's understand this a little bit deeper, on a deeper level. There is a medrash that seems astounding to read when we first read it. There are only 2 times in the Torah where we see the phrase lech lecha. And they both deal with our first forefather, Avram. The first one is what I just read you, the very first contact he has with God, at the age of 75, after he's been preaching God's name for decades. The second one, and that according to most commentators, is the first of the 10 nisyonos, the first of the 10 tests with which Abraham was tested. The second time God says to him, lech lecha, is the last of the tests. The test of Akedas Yitzchak, the test of the binding of Isaac, where let's see what God says to him, because we can see it in source number 2. Source number 2, this is Bereishis 22:2, Chaf Beis Beis. Vayomer, and God says, Kachnas binchas yechidcha asher ahavtas Yitzchak, take your son, your only one, whom you love, Yitzchak, velech lecha, and go for you, el eretz haMoriah, to the land of Moriah, v'haleu sham la'ola, and bring him up as an offering, al achad ha'arim asher omar elecha, on one of the mountains that I will show you. So here are the 2 times in Avram's life that he hears the words lech lecha. And listen to this medrash because it's almost impossible to understand. The medrash Rabbi, which is the primary medrash on the 5 books, and on the Tanakh in general, on Bereishis, it's Parak 39:9. It's the Lamed test. Okay. Amar Rabbi Leiby. Rabbi Leiby says, Shtei pamim ksiv lech lecha. There are 2 times that it says the words lech lecha in the Torah. Ve'ein anu yodim ezu chaviva im hashniya im harishona. We don't know which one is more beloved to God, the second one or the first one. Now let's kind of review what's going on over here. The first one, God tells him, pack up your bags, go to an undisclosed location, but you're going to have blessing there. I will make you great. I will make your name great. Hey, bracha, you will be a blessing. That's challenge number 1. And of course, it's challenging to move, right? Moving is never fun, right? My sister, who lives in Boston, her landlord just has a family member who wants to come back and live in Boston. She's got to move, and it's just a pain. It's just a pain. Moving is a pain. You got to pack up all your stuff. Okay, it's difficult. Let's look at lech lecha number 2. Lech lecha number 2 is take the one child that you have been waiting for 100 years. And he's finally born to you from your beloved wife, and he's the apple of your eye, and the hope that will be that he will be all that represents your legacy in the future. And, mind you, you have been preaching for the last 70, 80 years that human sacrifice is absolutely vile, wrong, horrific, selfish. And I want you to take that child and slaughter him on a mountaintop. Now, if you had to choose You could move, or you could slaughter your firstborn. Your only child from that wife. The one you love so dearly. After you've been preaching your whole life to everybody in the world that human sacrifice is wrong. Which one do you think might be a little more challenging for you? The second one. Very good. Let me make a quick blessing. This is not challenging. Having a good dose of H2O. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niyeh b'dvaro. Okay. So what does the Medrash mean when it says it's not clear which one is more beloved to God, that Abraham did the first or did the second Lech Lecha? How could that be? How could it possibly be that Hashem says it's more dear for me that you went on this road trip than that you were ready to sacrifice your only son to me after having preached for years that sacrifice is wrong and believing it was wrong? Your very core, your very essence, your very fiber of your being screams it's wrong to sacrifice human beings. And this is your only child from that wife, all of your hopes, all of your dreams, your entire legacy. Okay. So here's how we're going to understand it. This comes from the Nesiva Shalom. The Nesiva Shalom was written by the previous Slonomer Rebbe. He was the Slonomer Rebbe from 1981 to 2000 when he passed away. His name was Rav Shalom Noach Berezovsky. He was a great, great thinker. And he says like this. The second challenge of Lech Lecha, the Akedah, was undoubtedly an incredibly difficult challenge. Go and sacrifice your son. However, it's a one-shot affair. It's a one-shot affair. You gather up your courage, you put away all your feelings, you do the deed, and then it's done. There's no walking back from it, there's no changing from it. It's done. The first challenge, the challenge of Lech Lecha, the challenge of go find yourself, Lech Lecha, go to you, go to who you really are, go to who you're supposed to be. That is a lifelong challenge. That is a never-ending challenge. Let's understand what Lech Lecha really means. Lech Lecha means go to you. Go to what you were put on this world for. Go to who you're supposed to be. And that is something that's never ever done. You never can hang up the towel, take off your apron, put it on a peg, and say, whew, I got to where I was supposed to be. Because as long as you're alive, it means that you still have a road to travel. It means no matter how good you are, no matter how amazing you are, no matter how much you do, you still got to get up every morning and hit the road. It's a lifetime of self-refining. It's a lifetime of new goal setting, and new goal setting, and new goal setting. Where am I going? I don't know, but I know that I can travel 5 miles today. And I get on the road and I travel and I stumble and my feet are hurting and I'm tired and weary and I just want to take a nap. But I keep going and maybe I only make 3.8 miles today. And I go to bed and I wake up in the morning and they say, are you there yet? No. Are we there yet? No. Are we there yet? No. Are we there yet? No. That's an incredible challenge. To maintain Lech Lecha as a life motto, as opposed to a one-time goal. Slaughter your son is difficult, incredibly difficult. But you do it once and you're done. You're never going to be asked to do that again. Lech Lecha? Go find yourself? The first one? That's never ending. You have to leave your house, your birthplace, your country of origin. All that baggage that forms us. Some of you may know I'm a social worker, and there have been times where I was focusing on clinical social work, on therapy, and it's amazing. You know, you meet with people and you talk to them and you start to understand the family dynamics and the family history, and you see it again and again and again. These patterns that are just repeating themselves generation after generation after generation. And you go back with somebody, and the challenges they're facing are the challenges their parents were facing and their grandparents were facing. The guy has an anger problem. His father had an anger problem. His grandfather, his grandmother on his maternal side, and you go, and it's the same thing playing out over and over and over again. So much of what we are is based on where we were born and what our baggage was, what the milieu of the country that we were born into was. Being able to let go of all that baggage and really get to me, it's a lifetime of work. There was a Hasidic Rebbe. In the Hasidic world, generally speaking, if the Rebbe has children who are worthy, they become the new Rebbe. If the Rebbe doesn't have children, or the children are not worthy, it will go to an uncle, it will go to a brother, a nephew. But generally speaking, if the Rebbe has a child who is worthy, he takes the place of the father. And they were once having a conversation with a Hasidic rabbi, and he said, when I was 18 years old, he explained, you know, how did you prepare to become the Rebbe? He said, when I was 18 years old, I did a massive self-accounting. I started writing down everything that I do. Everything that I do. My mannerisms, the way I talk, my customs, what time I get up in the morning, what I do, how my schedule of my day goes. And I literally just started writing everything. And I put it down on the table in front of me. And then for every action that I did, I said, why am I doing this? And anything that I was doing just because that was the way everybody else around me did it, I threw it off the table. And I said, I need to start over from me. Now again, we have good baggage too, by the way. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of good baggage. My parents, when they brought me up, when somebody came knocking at the door from Eretz Yisrael, someone was collecting tzedakah, my parents opened up the home, welcomed them in, offered them a drink, had them sit down, had one of the kids get a drink for them. That's good baggage. And Baruch Hashem, now I try to do the same. Not all baggage is bad baggage. But hopefully now I'm doing it because I want to do it, not because my parents did it. If you ask me why I do this today, I would say to you, because I feel incredibly honored that these people made their way to my house and have given me the opportunity. They're coming to my house to give me the opportunity to grow as a person. I should be chasing them down. So if they came all the way to my house, the least I could do is give them a drink. I can tell you how much I appreciate it and how much I hope to instill it in my children. Did I learn from my parents 100%? Am I still doing it just because my parents did it? Out of a sense of familial obligation, this is the way the Burnhams do it? Absolutely not. Lech Lecha, as the first Lech Lecha, is a lifetime of growth. It means I can never say, I'm pretty much where I want to be. I'm good, I'm comfortable now. I'm comfortable now. This is where I want to be. No, it's every day you wake up and the words Lech Lecha are ringing in your ears. Today, go figure yourself out more. Hopefully yesterday you figured yourself out more than the day before. But there's still enormous amounts of you that are still hiding in the ether. Let me tell you about a young man who grew up here in Michigan. This young man was born in Milan, Ohio. The fashion capital of Ohio, Milan, Ohio. His family was very poor. And when he was young, they started building a railroad through town, and it happened to cross over through his family's house. So, eminent domain, they kicked him out of the house. His family moved to Port Huron, Michigan. At a very young age, he developed hearing problems, and for the majority of his life, after the age of 12, he never heard a bird tweet. The teacher, when he got to Port Huron, the teacher of his school said, "This boy's mind is addled." And after 3 months of school, she said, "I can't do anything for him," and she sent him home. So all of his education was based on whatever his mother would teach him, and she was, of course, working as well, so she didn't have exactly all day to sit there and teach him, and whatever he could read. As an adult, he made a living by selling newspapers and candy on all the trains that would go through Port Huron. Port Huron was a major port at the time, a lot of cargo, a lot of passenger trains. So he would go on the trains with a little push cart or a little box and sell candy, candy bars, newspapers. He got married. He had 3 children. And then his wife died at the age of 29. She got a brain tumor, and she passed away. So now this man who can't hear, who has no formal education, who's selling newspapers and candies on the trains, also now has 3 children to care for all by himself, 3 little children. And no other source of income, because his wife, who was also a source of income, is gone. He's now selling vegetables on the streets as well. Now that man is directly responsible for the majority of the comfort that we live in today. That man invented the modern power station. So we've got in our homes electricity, right? We have homes electricity so we can recharge all of our smartphones. It's very important back then. We have electricity. He invented the movie camera. He invented the phonograph so you could record both visually things and with audio. And of course, after over 2,000 failed attempts, he invented the light bulb. His name was Thomas Alva Edison. Besides for over 80 inventions that he invented, many that are still in use today, and not that far from their original form, he also started 14 corporations, one of them being General Electric, which till today is in the top 15 largest companies in the world. Now imagine if you were to walk over to Thomas Alva Edison one day, you bump into him, he had just come off a shift on the train's just pulled out, and he stashes his candy and his newspaper in the bottom of his pushcart, and now he's walking through the streets of Port Huron with a vegetable basket saying, "Tomatoes, carrots, carrots, tomatoes!" And you come over to him and you say, "Thomas," and he says, "Yes, what can I introduce you with? Cucumbers, perhaps? They're looking very fresh today." And he said, No, I just want to let you know that you are going to found 14 companies, that you are going to change you're going to light up the entire world. You know what he'd say to you? "Sir, can I interest you in the kohlrabi?" You would think you're out of your mind. Because he didn't become Thomas Alva Edison by waking up one day and he was Thomas Alva Edison. At night, he would tinker with this, and he would tinker with that, and he started with this, and he started with that, and so on and so forth. And it was years of development. By the way, later in life, they asked him, "Why don't you invent a hearing aid?" Right? Because he wasn't fully deaf. He was like 95% deaf, but maybe you could invent some kind of amplification system or something. He said, "My silence is my biggest gift." He had these labs that he would work in. There was tons of people running and bustling around him, all these technicians and scientists, and he could just sit there and focus on his work. The reason why he became what he became is not because he did a one-time incredible invention. He invented PayPal and then sold it for $10 billion and called it a day. No. Every day he was struggling to read, who am I? What am I sent here to do? What can I do for this world? What more can I do? All you gotta do, you invented a light bulb. You can call it a day, right? You changed the world. You got electricity and the light bulb. Let somebody else do the rest. Well, just sit back for a moment and enjoy your success and enjoy your wealth. No. Lech lecha. What else do I have in my box? I don't know what else is inside of here. And I'm only going to figure it out by working at it. So no matter how good we are, and again, I say this every week, the people in this crowd, you all are amazing people. But lech lecha is that drive inside you that says, well, what else is in here that I have not discovered just yet? They one time came to an elderly chassid, and they said to him, Yankel, can you play the piano? And he said, I don't know, I never tried. Isn't that a beautiful answer? I don't know. I never tried. Could be I could. Most people say, no, I can't play the piano. I can't play the piano. If anyone asks you, can you play the piano? You say, no, I can't. Can you play the viola? Can you play the xylophone? No, I can't. But maybe you can. This is amazing. That story is such a beautiful story. The chassid, can you play the piano? I don't know. I never tried. Maybe it's somewhere in there. Maybe I'm an incredible pianist. And I just didn't know yet. So lech lecha is a very different kind of challenge than the second challenge. The second challenge is a one-time go it and go. And the first one is a constant process of self-improvement. And says the Medrash, I don't know which one is more beloved to God. Could very well be the first one. Yes, the second one is enormously difficult. But the first one is a lifetime of challenging oneself. And that might be more beloved to the Lord than one big moment of incredible challenge. Let's look at another idea today. And now we're going to get a little mystical. All right, guys? So I hope you all took the deep water test before coming here. We are going to go mystical here. Let's look at source number 4. Genesis 13, 7 through 13. And there was a quarrel between the herdsmen of Avram's cattle, between Avram's shepherds, and between the herdsmen of Lot's cattle. And the Canaanites and the Perizzites were then dwelling in the land. Medrash explains what this fight was about. Lot would allow his animals to graze in other people's land. And Avram's shepherds would say, excuse me, our master was very explicit with us that we never, ever allow our animals to even eat a single blade of grass that doesn't belong to us. When we go through someone else's field or we're passing by someone else's field, we put a muzzle on our cows, on our sheep, lest they by mistake just grab a tuft of grass that doesn't belong to us. And you, Lot, you're allowing your shepherds to roam free in other people's lands. And Lot's shepherds would say, don't worry about it. God promised the entire land of Israel to Avram. He has no children. Lot is his closest relative. This is our land. But says the Torah, at that time the Canaani and the Perizzi were in the land. God had not yet given it to Avram. At that time it belonged to the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And then Avram says to Lot, Al na tihi meriva beini ubeinecha ubein ro'ai ubein re'echa. Let there not be a fight, a quarrel between me and you, and between your shepherds and my shepherds. Halo kol ha'aretz lefanecha. The whole land is in front of you. He pared na me'alai. Leave me alone. Im hasmol v'aymina. If you go left, I go right. V'im haymin v'asmaila. And if you go right, I go left. Let's make this peaceful. And then Lot looks around and he sees the land of Sodom and Gomorrah, which was very beautiful, very flourishing land at the time, very physically wealthy, and he says, I'll head out there. Okay. On a Kabbalistic level, Lot is the devil. Okay? And we're going to read today, we'll even read a source from the Zohar. Okay? And this is not our standard stuff. This is the Zohar. Okay. Look at source number 6. Ma kasiv vayomar Avram Lot. What is the meaning of when it says Avram said to Lot? Nishmasa ahadra legabe Yetzirah. The neshama is arguing, is fighting with the Yetzirah. V'amar le. And it says to the Yetzirah, Al na tehi meriva beini ubeinecha ubein re'ai ubein re'echa. I don't want to fight with you. The neshama says to the Yetzirah, I don't want to fight with you. Sitrin diliv is sitrin dilach. Your forces and my forces, right? The forces of evil are called the sitra acher, so to speak, the other side. That's your shepherds. And I got my forces. That's the roe Avraham, the herdsmen of Avram. Ki anashim achim anachnu. We're brothers. Yetzer tov v'yetzer hara karevim da b'da. The yetzer hara is fascinating. This word, by the way. The word kareven can mean battle, and it also can mean close. When you battle, you're right next to each other. They both come from the same source. The Yetzer Hara and the Yetzer Tov both come from God. Dali Yamina v'Dala Smola. Kabbalistically, the right side is associated with good, and the left side we'll see is associated with discipline. And it says Avram to the Lot, Hello, kol haaretz lefanecha. You've got the whole world. Take the world. Leave me alone. I just want to study Torah. I just want to do good. Leave me alone. You got the whole world. Go to Times Square. Go to Wall Street. Go to North Korea. Go to Iran. Go everywhere. You've got the whole world. Hello, kol haaretz lefanecha. You've got everybody else. Leave me alone. He paret nel me alai. Leave me alone. Zeal v'shota basrayu. Go float after them. V'isparesh mimi, and leave me alone. So first of all, what we see here is the idea that Avram does not want to dance with the devil. The trick is not to dance with the devil and win. The trick is to not dance with the devil. To distance yourself as far as possible from the devil. Avram says, I don't want to even be fighting with you. Leave me alone. Go away. I don't want to. When I'm near you, I'm tempted. When I'm near you, I'm fighting. I don't want to fight with you. I got to get as far from you as possible. So that's level number 1. But the Satmar Rebbe, Rav Yoel Teitelbaum, has an amazing idea that is incredibly deep and incredibly relevant to our lives. Again, in Kabbalistic thought, the right side always represents chesed,
sharing,
rachamim, chesed, kindness. The left side always represents din, discipline, judgment, strictness. Okay? Now, listen to how you read this, says the Satmar Rebbe. The Satmar Rebbe says, when I hear you saying, don't worry about it, it's okay, it's all right, chesed, kindness, I go left. I say, no, this is not okay. We got to put a line of demarcation down over here. And when I hear you saying, oh, this is a real problem, no, you cannot allow this to stand, when you go left, I go right. Think about the voices in your head. All you schizophrenics. No, I'm kidding. Think about the voices in your head, and think about the voices emanating from larger society. When larger society is saying, it's okay, don't worry, just open up, everything is okay, everything is good, it's all good, let's be okay with this. I say, wait a second, if you, the other forces are going right, you're going to the side of chesed, that's a sign that I should go to the left, says Abraham. I should go to din. I should say, wait a second, no. I'm not 100% comfortable where we're going with this. Maybe our kindness here is misplaced. Maybe our openness is too misplaced. Maybe we're actually bringing a lot of hurt to the world down the line. It's not really visible right now because now everything looks like kindness and let's be open and tolerant, but no. When you're going to the right, I'm going to the left. When that little voice in my head says, it's okay, Leiby. Just have a few more cookies. It's okay. Be nice to yourself. No, I better go to the left. No, I don't need another few more cookies. When that voice says to me, it's okay, you'll just sleep a little bit more, do this or do that, it's okay, don't worry. Then I got to go to the left. Then I got to strengthen my side of din, of discipline. And when I hear the voices going to the left, i.e. to discipline, this is not okay. When your kid says that to you, you better let them know that was immediately not okay. You yell at them right now or whatever. You discipline them. When I hear those voices pulling me to the left, pulling me to discipline, I got to go over to the chesed side. It's an amazing idea. This conversation between, what looks like a conversation between the shepherds of Lot and the shepherds of Abraham are actually really a deep metaphor for what's going on inside of our head all the time. That's the beauty of Torah. Yesterday I was sitting with two gentlemen. We were talking. And one of them was saying, the Torah is so vast and so deep and God is so infinite. How could you ever hope to meet anything? You're so infinitesimally small. And I said, you're 100% right. I'm absolutely 100% infinitesimally small. But that doesn't mean I don't try, right? Meaning, I'm just because I can't swim across the ocean doesn't mean I shouldn't put my feet in the water, right? Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, right? You cannot ever finish. You're never going to understand the whole Torah. V'iyata rashai lihi batal mimena, but you're not allowed to say, it's too deep. I can never understand the Torah. Therefore, what's the purpose of even trying? No. So my little kid came home from school last week and was singing a song about Lot's shepherds that were eating other people's grass, and Avram's shepherds said, no, no, no. And they had a muzzle, and he brings home this little beautiful cutout from school with the two different shepherds, the two sheep, and here's Lot's sheep, and here's Avram's sheep with a big muzzle, and it's great. He's a 4-year-old kid, and hopefully he understands you're not allowed to steal from other people, But then we get down into the deep parts over here, and this is not a conversation about what happened years ago between Lot and Abraham. It's a conversation with what's going on in my head. When my voices in my head are saying, it's okay, don't worry about it, be worried. Whoop out your strength, take out your canister of discipline and open it up and start pouring it all over the situation. This needs to be dealt with. And when those little voices in my head are saying, you better deal with this right now. You better yell at this person, scream at them, and take it. How could they not invite you? And how could this? And your father said this, but your brother did this, and your sister. All those things where your voices are saying, discipline, take care of this right now. You say, wait a second. Chesed, kindness, rachamim, a little bit of compassion. Let's slow it down. It's okay. He didn't mean what he said. It's okay. Boom, slow your roll. So that's a fascinating idea that we see here between Abraham and Lot, which is really a cosmic conversation that goes on in our heads all the time. That is idea number 2 for today. Idea number 3. Just by the way, in terms of the right side, left side, I want to talk about that a little bit more also. Let's not think that right side is all good, meaning, of course, we're saying here there's a need and a time for both right side and left side. When the voices are saying go left, you go right. When the voices are saying go right, you go left. They've done a lot of studies on the balance, especially in parenting, between positive interactions and negative interactions with children. So when they study this, what is the ratio of positive statements from parents to negative statements of parents?
4 negative and 5.
4 negative to 1 positive? Okay, 5. Anybody else want to take a guess? 10? It's 20 negative to 1 positive. Don't put your coat over there. Why didn't you do your homework? Did you make your bed? Right? How many times I tell you, you got to brush your hair before you come downstairs? Where's your back? You're always losing your backpack. And we can go on with this all day, right? Will you tuck yourself in? Why do you have dirt all over your shirt every day when you come home from school? and so on and so forth. And then at night, I love you, honey. It's the number to me is just astounding. 20 to 1, negative to positive. Now this has been studied in depth by psychologists. So there's 3 people who are like big gedolim, so to speak, great ones in the field of positive psychology. Barbara Fredrickson, Marshall Lasada, and John Gottman. I'm sure most of you probably for sure have heard of John Gottman. And they are leading psychologists in that area. Now they say that that is incredibly not healthy for a child, obviously. They say that it's amazing. I like how they give the exact numbers. The proper number of positive to negative ratio, well, 2.9 positive for every 1 negative is supposed to be the dividing line between human flourishing and human languishing. Okay? And then there's an upper limit too. So basically from 20 negative to 1 positive, all the way down to 2.9 positive to 1 negative is in the human languishing. We're causing our children, our friends, to languish. 2.9 is that exact demarcation line. I love how they get so precise, right? So I'll tell my kid today, I already told you 2 compliments, now I will say you 0.9 of a compliment. I will tell you 9/10 of a compliment. You're looking 9/10 beautiful today, young lady. And now I get 1 negative 1, but what? No. And then there's an upper limit too, by the way. Too many positive statements is dangerous. And that ratio is you need to have the negative statements as well. So you don't want to go above 11.6 positive to 1 negative. It's amazing, right? These exact numbers they come up with, right? So 2.9 positive to 1 negative is the line of demarcation between human languishing, just really human beings being cut down by others, which unfortunately is so absolutely common. Human languishing is something that affects such a huge percentage of our society, where people are literally languishing inside, being cut down by their parents, by their teachers, by their friends all day. I can tell you as a parent, it is so difficult for me. I mean, my daughter talked to me just recently. One of my daughters was talking about like how her friends are not being friendly to her and they're just excluding her. It's so painful to hear, like she's languishing inside. Now again, it's part of life, and it's a learning process, and it's going to hopefully make her stronger and be a better friend in the future. I know all the right lines, but I'm saying it's painful to see when someone feels like they're languishing inside. But that's most caused by just the language that we use. And again, to think of a 20 negative to 1 positive ratio, but we don't want to go above 11.6 positive to 1 negative, because there's a value in negative as well. As Fredrickson says, appropriate negativity plays an important role within the complex dynamics of human flourishing. Without appropriate negativity, behavior patterns calcify. So there is a very important place for the negativity there as well, but within the right proportions. So, Judaism is not saying that kindness is always good, that discipline is always good. There's appropriate levels of each. And that's why if you look at source number 5, in terms of what's overall more important, kindness definitely is. Source number 5, this is in the tractate, in the Talmud, in the Babylonian Talmud, tractate Sota 47a. Tanu Rabbanan la'olam tehei smol docha v'yamin mikareves. Always, your left hand should be pushing back and your right hand bringing in. Right? Now, of course, generally speaking, what's the stronger hand? The right hand. So overall, what should be the more common theme is the kindness and the bringing in. But there's got to be a place. No, you don't sit in daddy's seat. No, you don't talk back to daddy. There's got to be a place also where you create the proper structures, or else behaviors calcify. Things start to get hardened and fall apart, and you lose control of the kid too. So there's a lo'olam tehei yamin mekareves, the right hand, the stronger hand, the side that we associate with chesed, is bringing in. Chesed is bringing in. And small is docha, the left hand is pushing back. We see this, by the way, a lot with our friends too, right? There are sometimes friends, and this is common, especially as people start to have a little bit more time in their hands as they get a little bit older. Often there are friendships that start developing negative patterns. Friendships have to have proper boundaries too. And then when they don't, we have friends that can sort of latch on to other people in a way that's unhealthy. And even when it comes to picking our friends, not just our children, but with our friends, you got to draw in with the right hand, but push. Now's not such a good time for me. I'm really sorry. Can we pick this up on Monday? That kind of thing. There has to be healthy boundaries. But I think it's just an astounding idea of just the way we track the thoughts in our heads. When you go right, I go left. When you go kindness, I go discipline. When you go discipline, I go kindness. And hopefully we can take that and put that in our pipe and smoke it for a week. And I'll see you all next Thursday. Thank you very much.